Good day folks, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another little chinwag from a wet northern Slovakia. I've brought myself on a lovely little road trip here and I'm currently walking along the river that separates Slovakia from Poland. So across the river there is Poland. That's why I'm here. I love borders. I don't know why, I've got some kind of weird fetish with borders, but oh my god, what a peaceful walk. Anyways, today's topic, guys, is the pros and cons of solo travel and traveling with a partner or friend. So I've done a fair bit of both. In the last few years I've been traveling with someone, but just of recent I'm now traveling solo once again for the foreseeable future. And so it's just made me think of the pros and cons of both sides of it, you know. I was all for solo travel. You might have seen some of my other chinwags where I've promoted it quite a lot, which I still am, and that's what the whole point of this video really. But there's also pros to being with someone as well, traveling with someone. So let's start with the pros of traveling as a couple or with a friend. So the pros, I guess one of the biggest pros, is that everything is half price. Accommodation, as you know, if you're splitting things half and half, that is, or whatever, whichever way you do it with your partner, you're going to be kind of doing something equal, aren't you? So, and it's going to work out cheaper. And so yeah, the first pro is everything's cheaper when you get to somewhere. Obviously, like I say, the accommodation and things like that. So that's definitely a big pro. Another pro is when you're on road trips like I am at the moment. You're in the car for a good few hours by yourself. Sometimes gets a bit lonely. It doesn't bother me, but I'm just saying it might bother some people. So when you're with someone, obviously you've got company on the road. You can have laughs, you can have jokes, whatever, you know, you're just traveling together. So that's another pro, is that you've got company. You don't feel as lonely if that's going to bother you, you know, if you're not used to being by yourself. Another pro, when you're traveling as a couple or with a friend, you can share the driving on a road trip. That's another quite a biggie. Like yesterday I did about 5 hours driving, so you know, having to stop and see places and then drive, it can be quite tiring. So yeah, when you're with someone, obviously you can share the driving, that kind of thing, which is quite a good quite a good pro if you are actually on a road trip, you know, using a car. Another pro of traveling with someone is just sharing the experiences together, you know. You know, whatever you're seeing, you can share the experience, get excited with one another, just bounce off each other, you know. So that's another pro, is definitely having someone else to, like today for example, I'm walking along this river here, a little raft here, look at that. So for example, I'd be sharing this experience with someone now, you know. Oh wow, look at this, this is amazing. And yeah, that's definitely one of the pros. So there's a few pros, guys. I'm sure there's more pros. Let's move on to the cons of traveling with someone. The biggest con, I guess, is if you want to do something and the other person doesn't, then that can cause a bit of tension or a bit of friction, depending whether you're with a partner or a friend. So for example, today I'm doing this walk here in the rain, in the cold. Now I might be with someone that wouldn't want to do this, you know. So that then you have to make the decision whether you do it, leave the other person in the car or wherever and just do the thing yourself, or you have to just bite the bullet and not do it, which, like I say, can cause a bit of tension, and you can miss out on things that you would do normally by yourself but you can't do with a partner. So there's one of the cons, I guess. I mean, there's not many cons, to be honest with you. I'd say that's the main one. Let me have a think, what other cons are there? No, not really. I mean, everything else is pretty good, do you know what I mean? It's there's nothing bad about traveling with someone. The only thing that, like I say, for me, restricts me if I want to do something and that other person doesn't want to do it. That's a little bit of a nightmare, and that's why I do like traveling solo, you know. So so they're I guess the pros and cons. I might think of more as we're doing the video, but let's move on to solo travel, shall we? So the pros of solo travel, I guess, It's obvious. You can do what you want, when you want, how you want, if you want, if you don't want. You choose the accommodations that you want. You don't have to you know, come to an agreement with another person. You can just choose your place and that's it. Just the flexibility and freedom to do whatever you want to do at any time. Like this morning, for example, I woke up. I was planning on going for a hike up a nice mountain, but the clouds are really overcast over the mountain, sorry. So I've decided to just come on this lowland walk instead. But I know this isn't for everyone, so if I was with someone now and they didn't want to do it, I'd be a bit, you know, I'd feel like I'm missing out, and I'd feel a bit guilty if I left them in the car for a couple of hours while I'm just trundling along the river here. So the first big pro is definitely the flexibility, the freedom to do whatever you want. The other pro is, again, I suppose it's to do with flexibility and things, but you can choose the countries that you want to go to, the areas that you want to go to. You don't have to liaise with anyone else. You just pick and choose your place, like I have done now. Just picked Slovakia and off I went, and I've just done what I want when I want. Again, a good pro. What else? Well, I guess that's it really. Just having the freedom, the flexibility, you know, and just being able to change your mind last minute as well. That's another pro. Like today, for example, I've just had to change my mind, but I've ended up doing something that I want to do, but it might not have been something that the other person would want to do if I was traveling with someone, you see. So there's another pro. Now the cons, I guess the first one is everything's more expensive because you have to pay the accommodation yourself, foods, blah blah blah. So it is a little bit more expensive when you're traveling by yourself, and especially when you're doing road trips like I am here with a car. I've hired a car, so that's full price on me. All of the fuel, that's on me. So, you know, I have to pay everything, but whereas if you're with a partner or a friend, then you'd halve it or whatever, wouldn't you, you know, or come to some agreement anyway. So I guess that's the biggest con of traveling solo. Another con, like I say, is on road trips you don't have that company there in the car. You're by yourself, so sometimes your mind can wander. But on a road trip like today, guys, there's no way your mind can wander because it's just been spectacular. As you can, well, you've probably seen some of the colours around me coming into autumn now, so Slovakia is absolutely beautiful. So that's another con, is not having the company there. And also, again, you know, the opposite to being with a partner, you don't have anyone to bounce off when you see certain things. You know, like what I'm seeing here now would be fantastic to be with someone so that they could experience this with me. Or experience it together, if you know what I mean. But I'm very used to solo travel, so it doesn't really bother me in that way, but I know it could with other people. So that's another con. You know, you could find out you feel a bit lonely. What other cons are there? Well, yeah, just not making memories with people, I guess. But like I say, if you're used to spending time by yourself, and if you haven't actually done any solo travel, but you do like your own company, go and do some solo travel. You'll never be alone. You'll never be alone. You're always around people, and if you want to stay in a hostel or something, so you feel like you've got more people around you at night time and more social, then do that. But for myself, I just get an Airbnb by myself. I'm quite happy being solitude, so that's not an issue for me, but I know it could be for many people. So I think that's it really, guys. There's not much more to be said. There's pros and cons in both. You know, like I say, the last 2 trips I've been doing solo. I've just been to Turkey, if you're watching my series on that, new one coming out soon, and the next series will be this, Slovakia. So I hope it encourages you to do some solo travel by yourself, and if you want any advice or information, or yeah, if you want to know how I do things, how I plan routes or whatever, then feel free to get in touch. I'm more than happy to help with that, you know. So yeah, that's about it, guys. I think I'm just enjoying this beautiful walk along here. I've had a fantastic road trip here so far. Slovakia is beautiful, it really is. I've still got half of the trip to go, but from what I've seen so far, it's absolutely stunning. Well guys, any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you want to know anything about solo travel or traveling with a partner or whatever, give us a shout. I'll do my best to answer. Alright folks, well, I'm heading back to my car now. I'm going to continue this road trip around Slovakia. Till the next one, folks, take care, have some fun, peace.